there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, what's up? This is Waylon.
And this is Nathaniel.
And we're both from the Technicolor Nightmare, one of the sickest rock bands you've never heard. And you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour, baby.
Woo!
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bod Father, and as always, I bring you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a huge privilege to welcome Waylon Whitson and Nathaniel Whitaker of the local group, the Technicolor Nightmare. The Technicolor Nightmare has released their debut full-length album, and it's out now. You want to get out and pick that up, and we're going to get talking about a lot of this stuff, so Waylon and Nathaniel, how you doing, and welcome to the show.
Doing great, brother. It's stoked to be here. Happy to be here talking to you, especially. I dig the vibes you put out, brother.
I appreciate that. Honestly, I appreciate that a lot. So how you guys been doing, and how excited are you to hopefully get out and do some local shows and start a little tour if you can?
Stoked, and really trying to fight with scheduling issues with our day jobs, but doing our best to get out here and do as much as we possibly can right now before things really start, locking down on us. But nonetheless, we're going to get out and have a good time and do our best to blow some people's fucking minds if we can.
So did you find yourself doing anything differently other than working on music, such as like collecting or catching up on anything during this pandemic, guys?
Working a lot. Definitely working on music. We're working on that constantly, but really just trying to get out there. We've been finding excellent places to play coming up in Columbus and just trying to kind of get out there into some other music markets. It's given us a good chance to do that.
Since releasing the debut album in February, you have like 5,400 total streams. It's been added to playlists that have over 100,000 total followers. Your song entitled Billy Norman has broken 1,100 streams on its own. The Technicolor Nightmare have more than 500 monthly listeners. Are you shocked on just how well this album is being taken in by everybody and being accepted and everybody digging it?
Man, I'll be honest with you, it has blown my mind, the response that we've gotten from it thus far. And you rattled off some of those numbers there, but we're almost double on all of that now since when we, set this up and we sent over that little bit of initial information for you. It's been crazy, man. I really am humbled by it, and I'm really thankful for everybody that has taken the time to listen to it and enjoy it and add it to their libraries. And it's something else. It's a different world we live in nowadays that we, like I said, with our scheduling conflicts and things of that nature, the internet is a godsend for us. So seeing it do well on there is a good sign for us, I think.
You guys did a live stream raising a significant amount of money for a charity for your son, Waylon. How special was this to see a community donating to help, and not just our community, but the rock and metal community as well? I mean, how special was this to see this come together?
John, you're going to make me cry with a question like that, man. It is the most special thing I've ever been a part of by and far away. It was just amazing. And it felt really, really good to be able to use what we've worked on and what we've done as a band to be able to give back to something like that. Because obviously that means a lot to me with my son and what happened with him, and getting to go up there and take that money to those people after everything they did for us was just the most amazing thing. And I was going into that live stream, I was expecting maybe we'd bring, a couple $100 or something like that and be able to, just some small token. But then we raised, $1,500, and I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. You know what I mean? I was just blown away by it. I'm still blown away by it. I live every day in amazement at how well this stuff is doing. So
yeah, people don't understand, $1,500, you say, well, that's just $1,500. No, that's $1,500 that could go help a child's family that's up there right now,
right.
for food or staying at a hotel or whatever. That can help them out for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they gave us gas cards. You know, we were going to Lexington and Cincinnati. They gave us gas cards. They put us in hotel rooms. They bought him toys for his birthday, you know, stuff like that. And that's the kind of stuff I was hoping that we could help out with, is just because that normal, just taking a little bit of that day-to-day stress off people that are going through something like that is priceless.
How's he doing right now, if you don't mind me to ask?
Fantastic,
That's
man.
good.
He's doing great. He's been no evidence of disease since last summer. And
that's
healthy
great.
as a horse and meaner than shit, too.
Well, that's good. That's what you want to hear right there,
Yeah,
folks. Nathaniel, what about you, man? What was your experience with all that as well?
It was wonderful. They just recently sent us a thank you card to us, to the Technicolor Nightmare, which was wonderful. It was excellent to see that. I got to see Waylon's son today. He came to my son's birthday party. They played in the park all day. It was wonderful. It was just a beautiful thing to see.
Writing the self-titled debut album, did it challenge you guys as a band because of COVID, bringing this album to life? I'm guessing these songs had already previously been written since, 2012, you said maybe, or 2018, something like that? Or all these brand new, fresh songs?
Some of them were brand new. Some of them were written during the pandemic. Some of them were, you know, like you said, 12 years old, stuff that Steven wrote before the Technicolor Nightmare was even a thing. And we've all kind of fleshed out and added our own thing, too, over time, you know. And these songs, a lot of them, I really think that having all that time to sit on them is what made them what they are now. Because you have time to experiment with them and you have time to try new parts and to just really settle into something and get at home with it. And as far as it being a challenge, actually, no. I think it was a welcome thing for us because, like I said, it's hard for us to get out and play shows sometimes just because we're all family men. We all work day jobs, you know what I mean? We're pretty normal people. So it's, you know, the logistics of getting out and playing is difficult to pull off sometimes. And when you don't have good recorded, you know, content to put out there, it can be hard to even book a show sometimes. So that was something we really needed, and it gave us the downtime to make that happen.
Do you guys still have songs in the vault from that far back that you're still wanting to put out on an album or EP down the road?
Yeah, we do.
Oh,
We
wow.
got some real interesting stuff. Some of those songs are totally different than they were when they were written back then. We just take bits and pieces of them and then flesh them out. Because, you know, over the course of 10 years, you're going to evolve a lot as a musician.
Oh, sure.
And so with that evolution comes being like, okay, well, there's some cool things about that song, and there's some things I'd do a little differently, and then we just, when it's time for them to come back and evolve and become something new, we let that happen.
As a band, were you guys a little nervous releasing this album right now, since bands can't, you know, really play a lot of shows or even do remotely touring on it?
That's something that you do kind of question. You know what I mean? Because if you're going to drop an album, typically you're going to want to immediately book shows and go try to support it, right? That's going to be the way that goes for anybody. So there was a question about it, but then also for us, it was like, I don't know. Like I said, we had a welcome reprieve to sit and strategize on things and let it build up some numbers before booking started happening again. Because, I mean, that's something that people do look at. Promoters and, you know, talent buyers for sure look at things like that nowadays. How your streaming is doing and how your social media presence looks and are you serious about the business side of things. You know what I mean? So it took us some time to kind of pad that out and get that built. And it gave us some, like I said, much needed and welcome downtime to do that. So, no, not really nervous at all, I don't think.
How was the Mountain Arts Center release show for you guys? Did it meet your expectations of what you guys are wanting?
I think in a lot of ways it did. I think we had a little bit of rust on us because, like I said, you know, we're talking about at that end, that's at the end of the whole COVID thing pretty much at this point. And we hadn't played out in a while. And, you know, we practiced up like we would for a normal show. But then everybody that was there doing that, and that's including Brennan Meek, who was running the boards that day, and Kevin Horn, who was running the video, and us in general, none of us had ever done anything like that before. So we were doing our best to try to hit all the questions we were going to run into something like that. But a lot of it, we were flying by the seat of our pants, man. And so we had a few technical difficulties here and there, you know, but I think we got through it, and I've heard a lot of people say good things about it. So overall, I'd call it a success. And the fact that the main thing was raising that money.
Yeah.
So that happened, and that's all I could ask for from it.
That Mountain Arts show, it did help a lot. It knocked dust off. Since then, we've done another show. We've got quite a few more booked. I'm glad things are opening up now. We're ready to get back out there and do it hard, and that's what we've been trying to do.
So what's impressed or excited you both the most about making this album, if anything? Well, what stands out the most about it possibly for the both of you?
The album itself, it's amazing. I mean, obviously, it's hard to say something other than that when you're the band that released the album, but for me, it is great music. It's wonderful. It's exactly what I want to play. I hear the things I want to hear, and that's an amazing experience for anybody out there that doesn't play. There's nothing like it.
I think for me, the number one thing that impressed or excited me about it was the evolution, because you don't know what you're getting into when you go to record an album, especially if it's your first one. So we learned and grew so much from doing that. And Jeremy was real patient with us and helped us through that process. Like, we didn't think to do pre-production before we went in. So we were like, okay, it sounds good in the band room the way we're playing it. You know what I mean? So that should be good. And then there were parts that needed to be changed, and it grew us all as musicians a lot. That's the main thing that I really enjoyed about it. We had to step up.
Any tracks standing out more to you than any right now on the album? I know it must change every time that you listen to it. I know these are your babies, but are there any for the both of you that stick out the most possibly?
I love Billy Norman. I love that song a lot, and I think it's like probably the most classic and most like upbeat song on the album as far as the way it sounds. And then I find myself vibing to Wildfire a lot. I enjoy that song because of the more laid back sections in it and the simplicity of it. I've kind of evolved into that. I like simplicity in music now. And, I mean, I still want to get crazy and do some technical, wild stuff every now and again, but I also just want to write really concise songs, and I feel like those were two songs that we did a good job of doing that on, for me, that I enjoyed a lot.
My favorite song originally was Complacent, but like you said, listening to the album and playing through the tracks, that has evolved. Now, really, my favorites are right on par with Waylon's. I love Billy Norman. It's amazing. Live, we do Wildfire Into the Fray, which is the following track on the album, and the way we do it live is amazing. It's absolutely amazing, and really, Wildfire and the Fray have become two of my favorite songs we do.
Those two songs reference each other a lot too. So like, we're old prog heads, you know what I mean? We love Pink Floyd and stuff like that. So that's something that Floyd did a lot. They'd set up a motif early on in an album, and then they'd reference it later on in another song and bring it back, you know? And I feel like we did a good job of that on Wildfire and the Fray, and I enjoy that about those. I love the whole thing, man. Yeah. It's hard to pick a favorite. Like, I think it's all good. That's the thing, is we wrote the music we wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Yeah, and you mentioned, too, that this was actually a concept album. It wasn't actually just a regular album. It was a concept album, which I kind of threw me off for a little bit. I was like, really? But let's talk about that a little bit. Was it intended to be a concept album, or did it just end up being one?
I think it was very deliberate. I think if you're going to make a concept album, it has to be deliberate. Like, maybe there are some songs that were older than the idea of, like, we always wanted to do a concept album from day one. And that's what all of our favorite bands do. Like, I'm a huge Coheed and Cambria fan. Their whole discography, apart from one album, is part of one concept.
Yeah.
So, and I love that about them. I love that you can trace a story through that, through the lyrics and things. And so, yeah, our concept is a weird one. There's an element of humor in what we do too. You know what I mean? Like, I want it to be lighthearted and fun a lot of the time. So the basic premise of it, and, you know, it was a late night writing session for me where I was just kind of like bugging out at 3 a.m. and just typing like a madman in the notepad or something like that, you know. But the basic idea is you've got, and I don't want to reveal too much about it because I like people to be able to read into it on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm sure if anybody follows us, they see us talking about Scotty all the time. I'm sure have you seen that? The skull and Scotty. Okay, so the idea is Scotty is a disembodied spirit, or like a trans-dimensional being of some kind, and he is the metaphysical manifestation of groove and music in and of itself, right? And he doesn't have a body, so he inhabits skulls. That's his thing. He likes to be a skull. So he like, if you check us out live, man, you'll see it on our live sets. There's always a skull or something skeletal somewhere on that stage, and it's because we're trying to channel Scott, man. So the concept is about Scott trying to put together a group of dudes to save music.
So is this going to be what we're going to be seeing down the line on more albums from the Technicolor Nightmare, or we just have to wait and see?
I think you're gonna have to wait and see on that.
Oh, come on!
I'd like to maybe flesh that out a little more and dive into it some more. And, you know, obviously there's been ideas talked about, but I don't want to give away too much.
Sure.
You know, I want to keep some element of mystery to it, because I can't get too much into the idea of the concept right now because I'm still waiting to see if anybody picks up on anything. You know what I'm saying?
Was there a song that you guys were working on that totally ended up sounding different than intended to? Was there a song that was brought to the table that, just ended up differently?
All of them.
All of them.
Every single one of them. They start out as something entirely different than what they end up being because we have a very collaborative writing process. There's not one guy in the band that gets to make all those decisions. You know what I'm saying? So, we'll take sometimes okay, so Eyes in the Shadow. Mm-hmm. That song started from a drum beat that Joe came up with. And then we all just started layering pieces over it and then fiddled around with it until it turned into something, and it turned into something entirely different than what we originally intended it to be. Complacent started out with that finger-picked guitar part that Justin does in that song, and totally flips a 180 and turns into something totally different, at a certain point. So that's basically our thing, man, is we'll pick one part or maybe a couple parts that somebody's written that we really like, and then we'll just improv jam on it and let it become its own thing, and then refine that over time.
Nathaniel, as a keyboardist and synthesizer guy, what do you bring to this table or this element of the Technicolor Nightmare, man, that may have gave this band extra pop, possibly?
Well, with keys and synth, the opportunities are basically endless, especially synthesizers in particular. Whatever sound you want to make, you can make. So I do things like sampling, stuff like that, but also pads, bring us into grooves with organs, stuff like that. There's just so much that you can do, and a lot of it is just trying to fill the space properly. That's one thing. If keys are done right and they're done in the background and just done right, you should really only know that they're not there if somebody quits playing them. And so it just kind of fills the space, fills the area, pads everything out. Instead of jagged sounds, in round areas, we have round sounds in round areas, and keys and synth really help do that.
Waylon, I know we talked about this just a little bit before we did the interview, but I'd like to see each one of you do your own EP. I think that would be cool to see your guys' music taste come alive from each of you on the EP that you do yourself. Yeah,
that would be cool. At least I would like to, I'm a big fan of Periphery too, and I don't care a bit to name drop the bands I like. I'm not some guy that tries to keep my influences hidden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they did a EP called the Clear EP that we talked about a little bit before we did this.
Mm-hmm.
And each of them produced a song on that EP. I think that would be really cool. I think that would be a really interesting adventure, and I'm sure that there's a lot of opportunity for growth in something like that too. So yeah, I would love to experiment with something like that at some point. It's just a matter of do the other guys feel the same way? Now, you guys self-produced the album, of course, but you worked with Jeremy Justice, who was with Downtrend at Dark Side Studios. He did the engineering. How was working with him on this, and did he help guide you guys on what you should do, not do, how this sounds? Jeremy busted our little butts for us when we went in there, and he said, boys, that ain't how it goes. You know what I mean? So yeah. In a lot of ways. And then, there were things... we try to be a collective. We try to be collaborative about everything. Nobody is lording their ego over anybody else or overriding anybody else and, just discarding their opinion or anything. So, I would call Jeremy a co-producer on this for sure. And he helped us a lot, man. A lot of really cool ideas and really cool things. Okay, here's an instance. Something that Jeremy came up with that I think really helped the song pop was Incomplacent. At the end of the breakdown, when it has that little break, and then you hear that sigh, that deep breath in that sigh, 100% Jeremy Justice.
Oh, nice.
So he came up with that great thing, you know what I mean? And then just taking the ideas that we could throw at him about, you were talking about effects and things like that, taking the ideas that we could throw at him about stuff like that and then fleshing them out and bringing them to life for us. Almost every time we had an idea like that, he brought us exactly what we were trying to stab at.
So did he get something out of you guys that maybe working with somebody else might not have gotten possibly? Do you feel that way?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I mean, we did an EP once before, and nothing at all wrong with Jack and what he does. Jack Prady, he's a great producer in and of his own right and a great engineer, but it's just finding the right fit, the right person that understands exactly what it is you're trying to do, and somebody that can help you bring that to life and bring that out of you. There were times where he was like, no. We were like, I think that takes okay, and he's like, no, do it again. No, get it right. Do it right. You know what I mean? Jeremy pushed us and helped us grow a lot.
Nathaniel, what about your take on it, man? How was your experience with all this?
It's been excellent. A good producer is like an artist, and they are an artist in their own right. And if you can find somebody that you can collaborate with and work with well, and that's willing to put ideas out there and listen to your ideas, there's a back and forth, just like there is when you're playing music. The engineer and the producer is such a big part of that. If you're going to get out there and record an album, I think it's very important to find somebody that you can work with, and also somebody that'll push you.
Yeah, you definitely want to spend your time well with somebody that actually believes in you and who can get more out of you to make a great album, because there have been so many albums that I've listened to, it's just, you feel like it's rushed, and you know it's rushed. You can feel that.
Most certainly. Just getting out there and finding the person that is willing to talk to you about your album, listen to your music. You don't want to go in there and find somebody that's sterile, that throws out 1 million at a time. If you can find somebody that will work with you as an artist and works like an artist, you can do something amazing.
Waylon, you did the artwork for the album, correct?
I did. Yes.
So let's talk about that a little bit. I want to know the design behind it. Like, when did you come up with this possibly, or actually the concept with it?
That was a collaborative thing too. Like, I do the artwork. I'm the one that like physically puts it together, but I mean, the idea of having, Caudill on the cover and like doing the neon colors and doing the Technicolor thing, and like I just wanted to kind of make it look like a hologram. You know what I mean? And it's got that leather background on it because I kind of wanted to, like, I don't want to drop too much, but like I want to try to get a feeler out there and see if anybody's interested in physical copies. And if we do, I've got some really interesting ideas for how those might look based on what that cover looks like right now. But not just the idea of it was having Scott on there because he's the fulcrum of the whole thing. You know what I mean? And that symbol that I'm not going to tell anybody anything about ever. It's totally a secret.
So locally as a band, have you guys found it harder before COVID to get shows locally, or are you having to travel outside of Eastern Kentucky to get a show?
We do local shows for sure when we can. Of course, the music scene in our immediate local area it's not huge. There's not a lot of places to go play. So lately we have been trying to breach out. We're breaking into the Columbus market right now. We've got multiple shows coming up there over the next month or so. We're breaking into the Knoxville, Nashville area right now. So yeah, it's tough for a local band in our immediate area. If you can't travel, it's going to be awful hard to find good gigs.
Speaking of that, though, do you think it's going to be harder now for locals to get some shows local like that, since COVID has finally let down a little bit to open up some venues? You know
what I think? I think it's actually very counterintuitive. It's almost the exact opposite of that, because while we took that downtime to grow and to change and to build new things, a lot of places around here did the same thing.
True.
There's some new venues about to be opening up. There's some really cool, interesting places. Like, I'm going to go ahead and drop it. The Alley on Main in Paintsville is going to be a really cool venue, and it's going to be strictly a music venue. They're going to be on the weekends down there. They've already got crazy numbers of huge acts coming in.
Really?
Yeah. And that's actually something that Justin's going to be involved in as well. He's going to be doing the kitchen and stuff down there for that. He's a chef by trade in the daytime and a musician at night. You know what I mean? So, but no, I think everybody kind of did the same thing. They just took the time to grow.
Do you see the band still musically growing and the direction it's going? And this is the direction that you guys like to see it going in.
100%. Yeah, every day. Dude, that's one thing about us is we're just hungry. We are very, very hungry musicians, and we are not the kind that want to sit and rest on our laurels. We want to continue to get better all the time. Like, as a matter of fact, if somebody gets to the point where they're like, oh, I'm good enough, then it's like, we're probably going to have some friction.
Yeah.
Because we like to push each other,
So what do you hope everyone takes away, your message you hope they hear, guys, while listening to any of Technicolor Nightmare's music in general? What do you hope they get from it when they start listening to it?
Well, I hope they enjoy it. I hope they rock their faces off. If you like rock, if you like prog, if you like metal, we've got flavors of all of that stuff in there. Listen to it, love it, enjoy it.
Yeah, this is a buffet of music, guys, honestly.
The thing about it for me is that, and you can identify with this as well, is that music is a deeply personal thing.
Sure.
And to me, it's a spiritual thing. Like, man, that's my church. You know what I'm saying? Every Sunday we get together and we rehearse, and that's my time to unwind. And I want other people to have that same experience. I want them to feel that passion and that energy that we put into it. And I hope that they do. I've heard people say that they do. So, I mean, hopefully it's getting out there. But the power of music to unite people and to bring us together and to actually say something with it.
For the both of you, what made you want to become a musician? What was that spark, if you can recall? What was it?
For me, you know, as a man we were talking about a little bit ago, probably was one of the biggest influences on it for me as a kid was Zakk Wylde.
Yeah.
And then Dimebag Darrell and Coheed. My dad was a huge Pink Floyd head when I was younger, so he turned me on to all of that stuff. And David Gilmour. I mean, just hearing wicked badass guitar players and wanting to do that one of these days, you know. And then, you know, we were talking about this outside, me and Nathaniel were, right before we came in here. In 2009, I was a junior in high school, and I went to a show, and I saw, I believe it was Saving Abel and Papa Roach and Avenged Sevenfold. And those guys are fucking killer.
Yeah.
Like, killer live, dude.
Yeah.
And, you know, people can say whatever the fuck they want to about any of those bands, but those, if you get to that level, there's a reason for it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And those guys just murdered it. And I remember sitting there with my little 17-year-old mind just blown into pieces and being like, I want to do that. I want to get on a stage and do that.
Papa Roach, man, you get your money's worth when you go see them because Jacoby, he's all over the place.
Yeah, I told Nathaniel about that too. He was up at the Expo Center. He was up in the fucking nosebleeds doing shots with people during the set while he's playing. I was like, this guy's a maniac, and I love it.
Yeah, you definitely get your money's worth. He's like the Garth Brooks of rock, metal, I guess.
For me, the thing that really got me into music would have been my dad, as well as our singer and bass player, Stephen Caudill. We started playing music together at the same time. We were over at a friend of ours' house, and an older guy that plays music, and his drummer couldn't make it. And Stephen called me, and he said, hey, you want to learn how to play music tonight? And I said, okay, let's do it. And we went over there, and we started playing. We started a band with my dad. Now, this is, keep in mind, we're probably 15, 16 at this time. We're very young. Ended up releasing 2 albums, playing all over the place with them. So I got into it early, and with my dad and with our singer. And then years and years later, now I'm playing with Steven again.
That's what I want people to understand. Just because we're from Eastern Kentucky doesn't mean that we're stupid or we're dumb or anything like that. There's a lot of talented folks here. You know, you got the Technicolor Nightmare, you've got Mirrored Image, you've got Downtrend. Forgive me, folks, I'm leaving out some others here, I know, and there's some others that you guys know of that are locally here. So, you know...
And that's the thing, too, is we have a reputation around here for country musicians, and we have some absolutely ridiculously, phenomenally fucking huge country musicians that come from this area. But that ain't all there is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's a staggering amount of talent that we have in this area. It's like, and I think that's part of what makes people here so good, is like, you know, from the get, dude, that you've got some fucking competition around here. You know, if you're getting into music, there's some people that are going to fucking slay. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The bar is high if you're trying to be a musician here.
Growing up, I know you guys had a lot of music, and you had a lot of albums to choose from. But did you have just that one go-to album, possibly, that you had to have every week or every other week that just gave you inspiration or just let you escape for a while?
Dude, when I was like, let's see, how old was I when Hybrid Theory came out? Ooh. Dude, Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory, and Meteora, those things saved my life when I was a kid. And then Coheed, Good Apollo 1, that album, dude, I may have not made it through my late teenage years and early adulthood had it not been for that album. It kept me focused, and that was something that I poured myself into and escaped into. And then Enema by Tool. Just there's too many to name, honestly. Mm-hmm. There's just there's a season for everything. And there was so many albums like that music has always been my lifeblood. So even before I was a musician, I was crazy about music.
It's the same thing for me. Lots of albums, lots of music, different genres, different places, different people. David Bowie's The Man Who Sold the World made a huge impact on me. I love that album. Of course, anything by Pink Floyd. Echoes is absolutely amazing. More modern stuff too. Tool melted my face when I was young. They made a huge impression on me and still do to this day. Their new album's amazing. There are just so many. I listen to music constantly, but those were probably some of the earliest and biggest influences on me.
Folks, you want to get out and pick up the Technicolor Nightmare self-titled debut album. It's out right now. You want to do that. Waylon, how can folks stay in touch with you guys, buy some merchandise, tour dates, all this stuff when it gets back together, and just to say hi, or how can they do that?
Best place right now we got a little bit of everything, but man, I get a little lazy sometimes on like the Twitter and the Instagram stuff. So the best place would be Facebook, and don't bullshit me and act like you don't have a Facebook, because I know you do. Get on there, search for the Technicolor Nightmare. We got links to our merch. We post events on there anytime we got a show coming up, and we will let you know what's going on, I promise. I'm like borderline annoying about it. I don't shut up. I'm going to let you know what we're doing. So if you follow us on there, you got it.
And before I let you guys go, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Hey, listen, you don't even know about this guy, all right? This is a little hidden gem right down here in Martin, Kentucky. This dude has talked, I guarantee, if you've got a hero in rock and metal from at least, like, the last 30 years?
Yeah.
John, would you say?
Yeah.
I guarantee that this dude has not only talked to those people, but he's probably got their autograph hanging on his wall. This is a guy that is, like, insanely passionate about rock music and metal music, and it blew my mind when I walked in here, man. Like, I've gotten chills from some of the stuff you've told me just sitting here. Like, it's crazy. And you got to do a better job of tooting your own horn, brother. But I'll toot it for you all day long. You're the man. This is a badass podcast. You asked some of the best questions I've ever been asked. And if you're a band, you need to get in touch with this man, because he's going to help you get your shit out there and let people know who you are. And he's going to be real about it. And he's a genuine, humble, great dude. So, anything else that I could promo in that regard, I will. But man, dude, man, dude, brother, guy, my mans. I love it. Hey, what's up? This is Waylon.
And this is Nathaniel.
And we're both from the Technicolor Nightmare, one of the sickest rock bands you've never heard. And you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour, baby.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Hour Podcast. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link. You definitely want to subscribe to that YouTube link, because you don't know what you're missing out on. Also, please get out there and check out the Technicolor Nightmare. Pick up their debut album, self-titled album. You will not be disappointed. And give these guys a fair shot, because I guarantee you will not be disappointed. So, Waylon and Nathaniel, thank you all so much for being on the podcast.
Dude, thank you for having us. I'm incredibly honored.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was amazing.
Hey, listen, you like Zakk Wylde? You like Dimebag Darrell? I mean, you like Danzig? You like shit? I mean, you like rock music? This is your guy right here. He knows about it. He's plugged in, son. He's got his finger on the pulse. Check this shit out now. Do it.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.